So back to our current goal, right? We want to enable clinical trials by 2030. That's our goal. So if we go back to that and we want to think about how to actually do that, now that we built all the infrastructure and the research tools, or at least started to enable them, we now also want to think about what are we going to fund next and how. All right. So to summarize, there is really strength in numbers. We want to get to clinical trials by 2030, and we as patients can contribute in two very important ways. One is just joining the community, learn about research, and contribute your data wherever you can, like joining the SDS GPS program and all other registries, donate samples, and think about participating in clinical trials and what goes into it. And then the other aspect of it is help us fundraise and invest in research with funding. That's another area that the community can contribute to. But it's not gonna be the only way that will take us all the way to all the funding. So I just wanted to emphasize that I don't want anybody to feel pressured that they must fundraise, but it is an opportunity for those of us who are in a position to donate or fundraise that can really make a meaningful impact as well. And so our goal is to ensure that your support has the biggest impact, that we reach our goals together. Leverage your contribution. In the interest of time, I'm not going to go into great detail of this, but I can share it later. But this is a summary of what your support has helped us achieve over the 5 years. So SDS Alliance was established in 2020, so just 5 years ago. We started out with a mouse model project that is still ongoing because biology. There were some unexpected things happening with the biology. The project slowed down in the middle a little bit, but now it picked up again, and we're still pursuing generating a transgenic mouse model to enable all sorts of research and drug development efforts. Then we have the cell biobank in collaboration with Coriell. That's alive and well, but we are looking to expand it with more iPSCs and easier access to cells. We got the ICD-10 code. We started the collaboration with Australia, which will give us another type of mouse model too. We have patient-reported data collections going on through the SDS GPS program. We have the PFDD meeting and a lot of other engagements with the FDA. So actually, when Joe pointed out that there is this new hub for rare diseases, we participated in the launch of that and had the opportunity to speak to what we would like to see in such a center. We have several blog posts on our website about those types of interactions. And then so the most recent effort is really figuring out how to invest wisely into the translational research projects. And to enable all this, again, this is all because of you, the patient community, that made all this possible, because we were able to go to bigger funders and say that our patients are here for it, they need this, and we have a whole community behind us that wants to see therapies come to fruition. So we got in 2021, we got the CZI Rare as One grant. Then we got leadership support from the Milken Institute and the partnership with UPenn to build our iPSC biobank. And more recently this year, we got a PCORI Engagement Award to help bring the patient voice into all stages of research and drug development, and specifically to comparative clinical effectiveness research, CER. So thank you all for enabling that. Now, if you are interested in donating and fundraising, go to our website, sdsalliance.org. There's a donate button right on top. If you have the means to become a monthly donor, that would be amazing. That really shows that you support our work on an ongoing basis. And if you work for a company that offers donation matches, that is, of course, also helpful. They often double your donation, and there is a link to how to check that out on our donation page as well. And if you're interested in fundraising, again, on the donation page, there are links to tips and tricks on how to fundraise, and also how to set up a personalized fundraising page that highlights your family. And I'm happy to help customize those websites or help with any of the efforts, really, to create marketing and communications materials to help you be successful at fundraising. There's one fundraiser I want to highlight. So there's two kinds of fundraisers. There's one that we organize, the SDS Alliance organizes, and then there are those that families organize independently to benefit the SDS Alliance. So the only event that we ourselves organize, the SDS Alliance, is called the Million Steps Closer to Cure SDS. This year, it's going to be in the first week of November. This is an annual event. 100% of the proceeds go towards research and towards our goal of clinical trials by 2030. There are T-shirts, all sorts of things. So I recommend that you check out the website. It describes all the details, sdsalliance.org/steps. And then we can also help you create a fundraising video. So we can help you customize flyers, fundraising pages, everything. And then more recently, you might have seen our fundraising video. We are able to put in your child's or your family's photos into that video and maybe shorten it a little bit. But it explains why we need help and how we use funding. So I think actually, Jeff, now might be a good time to play that video.
Investing in a rare disease can be very rewarding because you will know that the gift you're giving to the organization will go as far as it can and will impact lives today, tomorrow, and for years to come. My name is Esther Hars. I am a scientist and researcher. I have a PhD in molecular biology, and I am the founder, CEO, and president of the Shwachman-Diamond Syndrome Alliance, or SDS Alliance for short. Most importantly, I'm the mother of a child with Shwachman-Diamond Syndrome. As parents of a newly diagnosed child, I was wondering, why is there no therapy yet? Why do we just have to wait and see and not be able to do anything in the meantime? That quickly changed for me into, well, what can we do? What can we do as scientists? What can we do as parents? What can we do as a community? This is what catalyzed the formation of the Shwachman-Diamond Syndrome Alliance. Our goal really is to accelerate research and developing therapies fast. When my daughter was diagnosed, I joined the Facebook support group, and like nobody knew How many adult patients are there? Will my child graduate from school, go to college, get married? Once I started the SDS Alliance, I partnered with an adult patient, and together we identified over 100 adult patients, and that by itself was huge for me. Shwachman-Diamond Syndrome is a rare genetic disorder that causes a lot of problems in the body. Most importantly, it causes problems with the bone marrow.
SDS is unique in many ways. One of the reasons that it's unique is this very high risk of developing leukemia. Because of this risk, patients that we see with Shwachman-Diamond syndrome need to undergo routine screening for the development of leukemia, and that's a hard thing to live with.
Current treatment options for leukemia are unfortunately not very effective. Typically, it's bone marrow transplant or stem cell transplant. The problem with that treatment in SDS patients is that patients cannot tolerate the standard treatment that would be necessary to treat the leukemia. So patients either succumb to complications from the treatment itself, or leukemia relapses, and that's what leads to death. Current treatment options for leukemia are not working. Developing a therapy is much like building a house. It's not just about collaboration, it's more about coordination of the work. If you want to build a house, you absolutely need a developer who would coordinate the funding and all the contractors. They might find the best roofer, the best framer, the best crew to build the foundation and coordinate all the work so that ultimately they end up with a house. You also need infrastructure. A house wouldn't be built in the middle of a desert. You need roads, water supply, electricity, and a community to actually want to move there. Therapy development is much the same. For common diseases, you have pharmaceutical companies who coordinate the funding and the researchers and the regulatory processes to get therapy to the market. But in rare disease, this coordination is missing. The market is too small to make it profitable for pharmaceutical companies to invest. And therefore, not much coordination is happening, if at all. And this is where the SDS Alliance fits in. We see our role not only recruiting the best researchers, but to coordinate the work.
Diseases like Shwachman-Diamond syndrome fall a little bit through the cracks of traditional research funding organizations. And so identifying unique mechanisms and supporting those unique mechanisms to fund research into diseases like Shwachman-Diamond syndrome is a key function of organizations like SDS Alliance.
When you invest in this work in the SDS Alliance, you play an integral role in changing the future of thousands of children and families worldwide. You are investing in a future where people affected by SDS don't have to live with debilitating fear of losing their lives or losing their children, who instead can dream of growing up, graduating, getting married, and have families of their own one day, where we can simply look forward to more birthdays to celebrate. Join us.
Yeah, so this is the video which we could customize for you. So where we see Declan in the beginning and Declan at the end, and other kids, we could put in videos or photos of your child if you wanted to create a custom video for your community. Before we jump onto Rebecca's presentation, just wanted to answer a question that's in the discussions. So somebody's asking how they could support these drug development efforts to really reach clinical trials by 2030. And to that, what I wanted to say that all our efforts at the SDS Alliance are geared towards that, to make the clinical trials possible. It includes all sorts of infrastructure, and it also includes direct funding of those groups. Now, the reason we are not specifically calling out a specific project for fundraising at this time is that we are negotiating the agreements, really figuring out how much they need, for what do they need it, what are going to be the milestones, the deliverables, and then we make the financial commitment and pay at the negotiated schedule. So to make a long answer short, we are financially supporting and also supporting these groups and research projects in many other ways. And so if people are on board with our goal of clinical trials with 2030, please reach out and work with us to move things forward. We are basically representing you, the patient community. Our only interest is to make sure that your investment of time, effort, and money goes as far as it can. And that's what we work towards every day and night, oftentimes. So I hope that answered the question, but if not, please reach out and we can discuss it in even more detail. But with that, I wanted to, before we jump onto Rebecca's presentation, just wanted to answer a question that's in the discussions. So somebody's asking how they could support these drug development efforts to really reach clinical trials by 2030. And to that, what I wanted to say that all our efforts at the SDS Alliance are geared towards that, to make the clinical trials possible. It includes, I'll send it over to Rebecca Hilburn, who is the mother of Declan, adorable little boy we saw in the video earlier. And she has had some great success with fundraising with us and for us, and is willing to share her experience with that. So thank you for being here, Rebecca.
Thank you, Esther. Can you hear me okay? Yeah, okay, great. Yeah, so thank you so much. I'm looking forward to kind of sharing some of the sort of best practices and tips I've developed over the years around fundraising. But you can go ahead and move on to the next slide. So I'll first start maybe just with a quick sort of recap of sort of how we got here. So this is a picture of my family, and Declan, who is now 8, and Emma is 9. Declan was diagnosed with Shwachman-Diamond at around the age of 3.5. And since then, he has neutropenia. He has neurological challenges. He actually has probably the most impactful issue for him right now is the impact to his bones. So in the past, probably maybe just about 2 years ago now, he had to have a bilateral hip surgery due to what the disease was doing to his bones. And so he's since overcome that and is doing really well, but that's been probably the most impactful. He has some issues where he had to have an eye surgery due to strabismus. But overall is doing really well and very positive and energetic, and a little boy doing all sorts of little boy things. I'll say that the one thing that sort of has really been kind of helpful for me is just really getting as engaged as I can with the community and trying to really get to know families and use and leverage all of the different social media outlets that we have to help speak to other families and share my story. And it's helped me along the way to sort of troubleshoot different things that pop up with Declan each year. So I will say that engaging with the community has been a big help for us. And one of the biggest things really, for me has been fundraising. I've found that it really helps me, feel like I'm doing as much as I can for the community and to support this rare disease and to hopefully help try to find treatments and a cure. So, so really, I've found that over time, I've been able to sort of continue to work on telling our story and sharing that out with the larger community and friends and family and colleagues. And I think that over time, as I continue to share our story, I've been able to connect with other individuals who have similar situations, maybe not the specific rare disease that we have, but just other families who are struggling. And it really helps to kind of brainstorm ideas on how to engage more and help and fundraise. So you can move on to the next slide. So here's just some examples in different ways of how you can fundraise. And then eventually I'll go through some of the examples of how we've fundraised over the years. So one really easy way to kind of engage and, start kind of small is peer-to-peer campaigns. And this is actually the way I kind of started out, is just, creating a flyer and creating a fundraising site. I worked with the SDS Alliance, and just kind of sharing your story and your fundraising details out through social media. That was just a really nice, quick, easy way to kind of do the peer-to-peer campaigns. And I'll talk more about what I did there. But that's a nice, easy, quick way to sort of get your feet wet and test it out. You can also, though, as you start to kind of expand and get bigger, organizing events, you could do something as easy as just getting your family and friends together for a walk. Bake sales are great, anything around food. And then other ways would be connections. So leveraging your community in different ways that you possibly can. I would say we are active with both Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts. So that's a really good clubs that could help to organize events and get the word out and messaging, as well as employers. So making sure that we're leveraging our employers to sort of match the donation. I know a lot do that. And I know Esther talked a little bit about how there's information out on the SDS Alliance website that explains how to, how to proceed with submitting that request to your organization and making sure that they'll offer that. So what I'm going to do is go into a little bit more details about really how I've sort of executed, I guess, each of these different ways to fundraise. If you want to move on to the next slide. So before so the SDS Alliance offered a few years ago, I think it's been now, sort of a course on how to tell your story. And it was really a great course. I took a lot away from it. And I definitely needed it because I think that's one area where maybe I struggled in the beginning was you really need to get personal with your storytelling to be able to sort of reach and engage and get people to sort of want to support you. So over the years, I've definitely have improved kind of my story about our family's journey and, Declan's journey. And so I think that's really helped me getting personal and, being authentic, obviously, and sharing as much information as you can about the disease and the purpose and and sharing updates regularly to be able to show kind of what that fundraising effort is going towards is really critical. I've also worked with the SDS Alliance over the years in creating posters and flyers, which has been such a huge help because that wasn't really a space that I had a lot of experience in. And so, being able to kind of focus on pulling together all of the other details and executing certain fundraising events and then having their support to be able to do those things that I don't have a lot of experience in has been a big help. And the posters and flyers have always come out to look so amazing. And you'll see some screenshots of these in the following slides. And then the other important detail to, telling your story is making sure that they understand, where is that going? What's the impact? So I think being very specific in when you're, creating, creating any materials, flyers, fundraising sites, right? Just making sure that in that summary that's going out to the community or the peer-to-peer or wherever you're sending it, I think is just really important. So they understand, where is that money going? What is it going to be used for? Is really critical. Can move on to the next slide. So best practices for a successful fundraising event. I will say that I definitely started small, and I think over time I've been able to sort of build on that and organize kind of bigger events. Like I said, I think just kind of getting your feet wet if you haven't done it yet, starting small and just creating a fundraising site, kind of sharing it out to your friends and families through social media. I've been able to raise quite a bit of money just doing that. And it's a very simple thing to do. It doesn't take much time, maybe an hour or so. And then as I got a little bit more confident with fundraising, and I over the years have kind of would sit down and take a day or two to sort of brainstorm and think about, okay, what can I do this year? How can I make this a little bit bigger, reach a little bit more people than I have in the past has been really helpful. And I've obviously always leveraged my family and friends to help, support that and help me think of ideas. We've talked about being clear about the mission. So how are those funds are going to be used? So that's really critical to include in your, in your story and make sure that that's really called out in any materials that are going out to fundraise. I've often circled back to any organizations or, local stores, anyone who has supported any of my events. I always make sure that I go out to share just a thank you. Even going as far as to say, we've raised so much money and it's going towards this, thank you again. I think it just really does go a long way, kind of staying engaged with those folks who are contributing to your event. You can move on to the next slide. So this is a great kind of framework that if you sort of follow this, it hits on really all the important points that you want to make sure that you're addressing through your fundraising. Being clear about the purpose, what's the benefits of it? Where is it going? Creating a goal. So I wasn't really doing this in the beginning when I was starting out kind of small. I was just so focused on kind of, doing as good as I can. But then over time, I have found that, kind of coming up with a goal sort of pushes you a little bit harder to make sure that you're doing all that you can to sort of get to that end goal, whatever the case may be. Marketing. There's so many different ways that you can market. I will say that just recently I created a flyer and I put it out in all of the mailboxes in my neighborhood. I think I hit maybe about 100 different mailboxes. And the flyer included details just about, what we were doing from a fundraising purpose. It explained Declan's story. And really went through each of these kind of points. And then it had a QR code on there. So just another example of how easy it is to kind of reach out to your community, get them to help support your event. You can, let's see here. Fundraising boosters are really important. So fundraising boosters are just a way to sort of, you might have kind of your main event idea. That's sort of, bringing you in your money. But then you want to add boosters to it. So like, let's just say, for example, like one of the things that I'm doing coming up soon is I'll be working with a restaurant to host a fundraising event there. And so some of the boosters we talked about doing was bringing in raffles, bringing in kids activities, cornhole, just other ways to kind of reach out to the community, bring people in that, may not be as closely tied to the fundraising event, but are willing to come out and support and have a good time. And then you're pulling in money through these other sort of fundraising boosters. Okay, you can move on to the next slide. Okay, so peer-to-peer campaign examples. So the first one here that I wanted to cover was the Million Steps Closer. So we know that that's coming up soon, and we usually participate in it every year. Actually, it's become kind of a norm that my cousins will reach out to me usually a month or two before and ask me, are we still doing our walk for the Million Steps Closer? So we usually gather at a local beach and get out, and we all wear our shirts, which you'll see a picture of in a minute, our matching kind of SDS Alliance shirts, and get out and do a walk. And there's usually sometimes 25, 30, depending on, who's around, right? But the idea is just sort of to kind of get your family, friends out there. And then another event that we did for the SDS Alliance was we facilitated a hockey game. And this was actually something that was offered by, so my brother and my husband play in a hockey league, and the hockey league is with a local PBA. And so they heard about our story, and they offered to host a charity hockey game, which, we really were able to sort of kind of pull in quite a bit of funds through that event. It was pretty big. And the nice thing was that they didn't want us to really do much for it at all. So the team really kind of took over and took control and pulled together everything for that event. And in addition to the hockey game, we pulled in fundraising boosters like I talked about. So we had 50/50s, we had raffles. So just other ways to sort of pull in additional, ways to kind of, raise money. So if you want to go ahead and move on to the next slide. So this is the picture of all of my family that gathers every year down the shore in Jersey. This is in Asbury Park. What we did here was, I created the fundraising site through the SDS Alliance, shared that out with all of our family and friends through social media. When we were down the shore, we had created all of these flyers. And so we were handing out flyers to folks that were on the boardwalk walking. We handed it to the local community. We had them posted up in their shops that were all around the beach that day just to help. And in the flyer would have a QR code so that folks can come up and take a picture and donate. So just another way to market and make it a little bit easier for folks that, so that they can donate a little bit easier. We try to all, sort of wear our t-shirts that kind of, sort of pulls everyone together and sends, I think, a nice message. We had a lot of people asking us questions during our walk, like what is the cause? What are you doing this for? And so I think it just helps to kind of get more people involved, raise awareness. Okay, you can move on to the next slide. So so this is really just kind of summarizing, kind of what I talked about previously, which is the annual event of kind of bringing our community together to find different ways to fundraise for the SDS Alliance organization. So I think this is kind of a repeat maybe of what I sort of talked about on the previous slide. So I think we can move on to the next one. Okay, and like I said, yeah, so this is the charity hockey game. We were able to raise, I think, it was just about 10,000, maybe somewhere just around there. And for this one, as far as marketing goes, there was some unique things we did for marketing, actually. And I can't take any credit for it because it was really the local PBA that was able to really sort of market, come up with sort of these unique marketing ideas. But in the township, they had this community billboard that was up on this like major highway. And so they were able to post all the details of the event out on this billboard that was on this highway. And so I think that really helped to kind of pull in different families. It also helped that we were natives of the township where this went on. So that really helped. I had grown up there and, was very heavily involved in the community growing up. And I think that's really all I wanted to get to here, was just kind of highlight some of the other ways we can market. And then here's some pictures of the hockey game. My husband is actually on the left there in that first picture with Declan. And then we had, you can see his cousin is actually right to the side of him there. And then we even had brought in Nurse Bev. So I don't know how many of you are familiar with her or know her, but she worked for Dr. Olson out at CHOP in Philadelphia and was sort of the guru around, as a nurse for SDS. So when we were first diagnosed, I guess I worked with her. Maybe she was there for probably about a year, maybe 2 at the most, and then she retired. So we didn't get to have a lot of experience with her, but she was a wonderful nurse who did a lot for the SDS patients and really knew a lot about it. Okay, you can move on to the next slide. No, can I finish? So making connections. To me, I guess the best way that I've found over making connections is looking at my family and friends a little bit differently. So over time and over the years, I now look at folks as how can we collaborate and work together in different ways to fundraise. And it's really honestly opened up my door, because if I look at every fundraising event that I've done over the years, it's been through a family member or a friend or, something unique or different that they, and how they kind of, and their role in the community. So, so I think, looking at your family and friends is a way to, have them support and collaborate and look at different things that they're doing, how, what businesses are they in, are there, opportunities there that you can leverage. It really has kind of opened the door. My father-in-law is really active at a restaurant and is there quite a bit and has a whole group of friends there. And so, we recently just started to organize a fundraising event with the restaurant. So it's really easy once you start to kind of just take a few minutes to think it through and come up with ideas and brainstorm. I think it really does come together. I've also looked at some of the things that our community is doing for events and have sort of piggybacked off of that or sort of leveraged it or looked at, okay, how can I do that? So that's another way that I've also have found different opportunities. Okay, you can move on to the next slide. So overcoming barriers, yeah, this would I would say is kind of one of the things that initially I feel like I was In the beginning, it was hard for me. I think one, because I'm not somebody who often sort of tells my story or gets really deep into my story. And I think that was something I had to change to be able to really, get our message out there. So, really just, being as authentic as you can and specific in kind of how the disease impacts your life and your child's life, I think that really does help to kind of get through to people. Um, I'm also not somebody who likes to ask for help. So that was another big thing to overcome, especially with fundraising, right? Because that's really what you're doing is you're going out and you're asking for help. But I guess the way that I've looked at it over time is, every single person has a different reason or something that's kind of driving them to do things like this, right? So to me, it's for the greater good, right? It's going to really open the doors and hopefully find treatments and a cure. And so that kind of mindset has really changed my way of sort of going out there and asking for help. Um, Small steps count. So sharing a post, like I said, that's really a simple way to just get your feet wet and get out there. Um, I also thought the same thing, that I don't have a big network when I first started to fundraise. And I thought, geez, I'm not going to be able to really do any kind of big events. But I was completely wrong, and over time, I think I've pulled in maybe somewhere close to about 20,000 over the past few years through all the different events that we've done. And like I said, I really just worked with and leveraged all of my friends and family to help really make that happen. And so it didn't really need a big network. It was just really, working with some of my family members on how to kind of make this happen. So you can move on to the next slide. So that's essentially sort of my my story and how I've been fundraising over the past few years. And I feel like each year I kind of get a little bit bigger with my events. So if anyone out there is ever having any questions or concerns, or you're just, challenged with how to get started or how to come up with an idea or anything at all, I'm happy to talk to anybody and brainstorm, and then that might open some doors and opportunities for myself and future events. The other thing I will say, that actually Esther showed me, I don't know, maybe a few years ago, but Canva is an amazing app that can help you. Really, it does all the work for you. But that's how I make all of my flyers now. And it's a really simple app. Once you make your flyer, you can save it and then you can build on it. And it's a nice, and it looks nice. It's visually very appealing. So I think that helps to entice people as well. So thank you. That's our story.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Rebecca. Yeah, Canva, it's just canva.com if anyone else is interested. And you can use it, anybody can use it for free, but we can also collaborate, like give you templates and so on to help you create the communication materials that you need. Yeah, so thank you. Thank you so much. Are there any questions for Rebecca specifically? And I just want to say it has been so beautiful to watch your family really get more and more impact over the years. So it was just beautiful to watch. And of course, Declan thriving is the icing on the cake. So I don't think there are specific questions for you, Rebecca. So I know you might be pulled into all the directions with the family around, but we really appreciate your firsthand experience and sharing what it feels like and what it looks like to fundraise as an SDS family.
No, thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.